thing at my kid's school, and I thought, hey, I could go live because I have mobile live streaming now unlocked on my YouTube account. So I'm trying to put it to use, find an interesting way to make content with it. And I kind of haven't really figured it out. I don't even know if it's content that YouTube really wants to push, like live streams on the mobile device of people. Seems like a lot of people I see that live stream, they do like Q&As with it. It's kind of an interesting use case. I don't know how long I'll be able to hold this phone and walk though at the same time. I'm gonna try to get home without busting my ass. It's very wet and foggy where I'm at. It's really crappy weather. My wife said it's twilight weather, which I guess is a thing. Let's see. What do we talk about? Um, well, actually, here I can actually show you the weather. Yeah, like I said, nothing to write home about. I'm gonna cross the street, try to not get hit in the process. Oh, as you can tell, I still need a haircut really bad. I think I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I always put off getting a haircut because haircuts are kind of expensive. I mean, they're not crazy expensive, but they're also not. I wouldn't call them cheap. I actually looked at taking me and my kids to a new haircut place, like a barber, like a proper barber. And when I went to schedule our appointments, it was going to be like almost $110 for all three of us. I was like, okay, maybe not. So we usually just go to sports clips and get our haircuts, which is fine. Uh, yeah, what's going on today? Well, I had this thing at my kid's school this morning for his birthday. Had to read a book to the class, which every time I do that, I've done that. Let's see, my oldest kid's in third grade, so I've done that 4 years now, 3 years now, 4 years, but probably a total of what 6 times, something like that. Uh, oh god, it's slippery. Oh god. And every time I do it, every time I read to the class, I always think this is actually a really hard skill to read the book, show others the book, and then also read in a way that's interesting and entertaining to other people. It's a legit skill. I understand why uh, voice actors. I understand why voice actors is a thing. But yeah, after this, I had to walk back home. I'm walking back home because we only have one car, which isn't like a woe is me. We only have one car. It's like a very conscientious decision we've made over the last, I don't know, almost 10 years, I guess, 8 years now at this point, where we just kind of got to this point where we didn't feel like we needed to, didn't need to pay for the maintenance, the upkeep, which that's probably going to change now that the kids are getting older. But we've just kind of made it work with one vehicle, which you know not everyone can do. That's not logistically sane for everybody. For us, it's worked really well, and I don't mind the extra exercise walking from home to school, and yeah, so not really a big deal on my part. And then let's see, I got work, get home, do some work since I was out this morning, play a little catch up, and then it's just Thursday. I don't think we have anything going on activity wise this evening. Oh, I need to spend some time. One thing I do for my kids every year is on their birthdays is I try to make them like a short little, I don't know, montage. I don't know what you call it. It's basically just a kind of a recap of their year. I try to get all the grab a bunch of videos that we've taken over the last year, stitch them together, and then just write them a small, I mean, some people might call it a love note, but just a small note for mom and dad about what we enjoyed about this year with them and what are the things that we think of when we think about them at this age. And it's just like, I think one, it's selfishly a way for me to get to kind of relive the year and enjoy it again. And then two is I hope it's a gift to them. I hope it's a gift to myself when I'm older, something to look back on and be able to kind of transport myself back to that time in my life with my kids when they were that particular age. And then hopefully it's a way for them to look at these videos and hopefully they keep them for the rest of their life and they'll be able to look back and they'll be able to know themselves at an age when maybe they can't even remember themselves at that age, right? What were they like at 6? What were they like at 7? Uh, so I procrastinated on that quite a bit. So I need to spend some time. I need to spend some time compiling all the videos together. It takes me, oh God, I almost fell, I almost biffed it. It takes me a lot less time these days, though. In the early years, we took so many videos and stuff of our kids, which was great. But now that they are older, they're kind of much more self-aware. And so obviously, when they were little, I could basically record them whenever I wanted, sort of without their permission, depending on how you want to frame that whole situation. But now that they're kind of more self-aware and older, they don't always want to be filmed. So I have far less footage these days to get to put in order to make one of their videos. But still got to sit down and do it. I should probably come up with a way to automate it, or at least a way to make the gathering of the video more automated. I haven't gone on a walk in a long time, honestly. Months. I've been dealing with, I mean, for the last couple years, I've walked like every day, like three, I don't know, almost 3 miles. And this past summer, I don't know what it is, but I developed either a stress fracture, it's either a stress fracture in my foot or it's a super bad case of plantar fasciitis. And I think it's that more than the fracture part. But yeah, extended walks really bother my right foot for some reason. So I've taken the last couple months off. Haven't done much walking, but I really enjoy walking. It's like a way to wander and explore and just kind of get away from the screens for a little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen the last video I posted. I actually I filmed it last night at like 11:30 p.m. when I should have been going to bed. I was just so I was so pumped up and excited because yesterday I've been trying to stream once a day, usually over lunch, at least during the workday, over lunch for about an hour or so. Um, and yesterday I spent about 2 hours trying to sort out how to use NeoVim to debug client, basically how to debug JavaScript that runs in the browser through NeoVim, which is something you can do in Visual Studio Code. Uh, pretty easy, right? So I mean, it's just create a launch.json and you run with it. And so I spent like 2 hours trying to figure that out in NeoVim unsuccessfully. But of course, like with many problems, I get super hyper fixated on them. And I was able to finally figure it out. And I figured it out like, I don't know, 30 minutes before my kids' basketball practice. And then when I came back, I sorted out all my configurations. And then I was like, okay, I've got to make a video to share this with other people. And yeah, so if you haven't seen that video and you use NeoVim, or you're kind of considering going down that rabbit hole of NeoVim, you should go watch it because it'll probably help you if you do any type of JavaScript or web development. It could be useful and save you some time. I wish I had been able to find a video like that because I Googled and Googled and Googled yesterday for an hour and a half, and could not find the answer. And the answer turned out being to be something really simple. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why I didn't think of it sooner. The NeoVim, the NeoVim transition from moving from trying to move from VS Code to NeoVim, which and that the whole idea behind that, the whole idea behind going from Visual Studio Code to NeoVim is not. It's not a what do I want to say? It's not meant as a critique of VS Code. I love VS Code, and I'll probably still use VS Code from time to time. Uh, it's more about just a change of pace, learning something new, which is half the fun of all this technology software thing for me is the fact that there's just so much to learn and there's kind of a never ending bucket of rabbit holes to go down. And so this was the last one I picked. And it's been good. I had been considering it for like a year and a half, just based on watching people who stream or make YouTube videos use it. And I had kind of, I don't know, felt intimidated by the configuration that was involved. Um, I guess maybe not intimidated, but I was basically just concerned that I was going to spend a bunch of time doing this instead of doing work that instead of doing productive work. And secondly, I was kind of concerned if I could actually make NeoVim on parity with VS Code. Could I make it have all the bells and whistles of a debugger, a test explorer, all that good stuff, right? That VS Code just does extremely, extremely well right out of the box. But after watching a series of YouTube videos, which I've shared from Typecraft, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can make this work. And yesterday was just another piece of that puzzle of, okay, I basically have NeoVim set up to where I can debug C# programs, .NET programs. I can debug server-side Node, server-side TypeScript, Node, run with Node. But I didn't have the browser stuff configured. And so that's just another step to making NeoVim more on parity with VS Code from a workflow experience. The one thing I haven't figured out yet with NeoVim is I write, maintain, I don't know what you want to call it, a pretty large and growing end-to-end test automation library. And I have yet to figure out how to get NeoVim to use how to get NeoVim to play nice with that project from a test explorer standpoint. There's a plugin called NeoTest that has an adapter, has a runner for Playwright. However, I've already had to make like some change. I already had to fork the repo and change some stuff to get it to work. Um, which really wasn't the repo fault. It was more of a particular oddity in my environment. But the library could have been more graceful about how it handled it. So I went ahead and submitted a PR to fix that. But now that I've got that working, it actually is discovering my tests, but now I can't seem to get it to actually run the tests. So I've got to debug that and figure that out. Which sort of there's not like great like handheld documentation on a lot of this NeoVim stuff. I mean, there is for some of it, but once you immediately kind of go off the beaten path, so to speak, you're kind of in your own world where you sort of have to be willing to read the source code and kind of pull it apart. And I don't really write or know Lua, so I'm kind of learning as I go. But yeah, so that's something I still have to figure out to be productive there. Okay, it's time to cut across back home. Our apartment or our yeah, our apartment, I'll call it an apartment. Our apartment kind of butts up against the neighborhood that our kid's school is in, but there's kind of a little shortcut that cuts off like a 10-minute walk, but it requires me to go through other people's yards, which I don't think they mind because I'm doing it for like 5 years now, no, 4 years now, and no one's ever yelled at me. But I always wonder if like random points in their day, they're like, "Hey, who's this random guy on our Ring camera walking through our yards?" And I'm not like walking like through their yards. It's like through where their yards meet. Ooh, it's so wet. My shoes are gonna be messy. I don't think anybody joined this live stream at any point. So it's literally just been Steven talking to himself on the walk home. But if you did join in, thanks for stopping by, watching. I'm almost here. My door's like another 3 minutes away, so I'm gonna get off here and get my day started. Hope you guys had a good start to your Thursday. I'll see you. Well, I'll probably see you later on today. I'm gonna stream on Twitch at some point, and then I'm sure I'll post some videos. So I'll see you guys then.